Hi there, and good evening to, or good welcome to this evening's live. It's Shauna here from Storani Careers. I'm delighted to speak to you, and thanks so much to everyone who tunes in with us this evening. As always, this is a live recording, so you will be able to go back and watch this at your leisure. We are streaming across YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn and Instagram. If you are watching this on YouTube and you want to go back over to the Instagram page, you can do so. There will be a link, but it's going to bounce you right back. So stay comfortable where you are. And for any of our Instagram users, this is streaming through YouTube as well. So guys, as you know, engineering is probably one of the biggest talent pools that we come across here at Storani Careers. We see everything from process engineers to quality to civil, automation, mechanical, you name it, we see it. So we thought this evening we would bring a special guest on board to talk to you a little bit about the engineering market, and who better than a specialist recruiter in the field. So joining us this evening is Emma Ward, a recruitment consultant specialised in the engineering sector. Emma is Galway based and has years of experience working for Sigmar Recruitment, hiring across a wide range of positions. As always, guys, there's going to be an opportunity to ask your questions, so please drop them into the question box. We'll get back to as many as we can. We don't always have the answers for you in the evening, but if anything we can't answer tonight, we will come back to you privately. So without further ado, Emma, you are very, very welcome. Thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thanks, Shauna. Thanks for having me, and hello to everyone watching at the moment.
It's a pleasure to have you. Thank you so much. So I guess, Emma, we will dive right in. Can you tell our viewers and myself a little bit more about yourself in terms of your recruiter experience?
Yeah, so I've been with Sigmar now, it'll be 7 years actually next month, and I've got about 9 years total in recruitment, so in engineering recruitment specifically. So I'd like to think I know a thing or two about the market and what goes on day to day. I specialise in manufacturing and process engineering recruitment, but I also tap into health and safety. I do a little bit of R&D and automation as well too. So as you mentioned, I'm based in Galway, so it is our medical device hub, or our known medical device hub in Ireland. But I also recruit for industries across the country as well too.
Brilliant. Okay, so you see it all.
I see it all. Yeah, every
And
day.
is it a busy office, Emma?
It is, yeah. We've got a great team at the moment, buzzy, lively, all different walks of life, and a couple of
Brilliant.
blow-ins like myself, and a couple of Galway traditional,
Galwegians.
yeah, Galwegians. Sorry, the word just disappeared from my brain. And yeah, it's a great team. And then Sigmar in general, we've got offices in Dublin, Poland, Cork, Athlone, and then obviously our lovely Galway office as well too. So we recruit for all areas, not just engineering. We also do finance, IT, office, HR, you name it, we do it. So yeah, that's a little bit about us.
Amazing. And then I suppose, I know you touched on it there a moment ago, but could you tell us perhaps a little bit about the kind of roles that you're actively recruiting for at the moment? I guess the most popular roles that come across your desk.
Yeah, so definitely manufacturing engineering. So that could be project or operations based. I also do a lot of process engineering, both on the chemical side or process development in medical
Hmm.
device. We also recruit for project managers as well too, and that would span a wide range of areas. So from equipment transfers to new sites or facilities management. Um, and then when it comes to health and safety, that would include everything from sustainability to environmental, process safety, machine safety. So I think those will be the main ones for sure.
Hmm.
And then R&D, you've got, your mechanical design, product development, and then your design positions as well too.
Yeah. Wow. So a big mix, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and quite varied, which is nice too. It means that you're
Absolutely.
not doing the same thing every single week. You're not bored,
Yeah.
and because we work with so many different industries as well,
Mm.
it's really interesting to see the different projects that are happening at the moment as well. So it kind of gets you really motivated to find somebody who could work on something really exciting, I guess.
Yeah, I guess you come across so many different great profiles as well in terms of the candidate pool that you get for those kind of roles.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And again, varied, people from different backgrounds, like your medical device manufacturing,
Mm.
automotive, aerospace. I've also had people coming from the space industry as well too. So
Oh,
that's been pretty
wow.
cool to learn a little bit more about that. So
Absolutely.
yeah, I've really enjoyed it.
And then in terms then, I suppose, of high demand roles at the moment, what are kind of, how are you seeing the year finishing up as we, not that we want to finish the year up, but we're going into the second part of the year. What are the roles that really are high demand for you at the moment?
Yeah. So actually, I saw the other day that Engineers Ireland have predicted that there's going to be another 6,000 jobs or something born
Hmm.
for 2024. So that's good news. It'll keep us busy.
Hmm.
But in terms of high demand roles, I would say, and going back to what I mentioned there about the health and safety side,
Yeah.
health and safety was always health and safety, but now it's more environmental focused. Companies are
Yeah.
transitioning into sustainable models, so they want people with that sustainability background. We have a lot of data centers in Ireland as well too, so people coming from electrical, mechanical type of engineering backgrounds with project management experience as well in
Mm.
data centers is in high demand. What I'm seeing as well too is our global organizations are transitioning to more of I would say, a digital automated way of doing things. So
Yeah.
manufacturing lines are becoming more automated. So there's more of a need for automation, equipment design, controls, vision systems. So it's really interesting. And it's nice to see year on year what is in more demand than others.
Yeah,
Then
absolutely.
working in medical device, there's always going to be a need for manufacturing or quality engineers or R&D
Mm.
engineers with that medical device background. That's never
Yeah.
going to go away. Unfortunately, people are always going to get sick.
Yeah.
Um, so it just means that, the medical device industry, I think, is always going to be strong.
Yeah, absolutely. And I suppose, as we say, like the market is so dynamic, and recruiter needs are so dynamic, hiring needs are so dynamic. And with that kind of in mind, then, are you noticing any trends in terms of softwares or tools or methodologies or any, I guess, upcoming things that can be really nice for candidates to have present on their CV to help them really stand out?
Yeah, I think the main things that I've noticed is people with, say, PMP certifications and project
Hmm.
management. If anyone has anything like Six Sigma Black Belt, anything like that, that's going to kind of push them a little bit. Manufacturing companies are all about lean. How can we improve
Yeah,
things? How can we reduce costs? So that's a big one for us. And I think as well too, if you're applying for positions that entail or have a people management aspect to it, as well as having the people management experience, but also having certifications like coaching, mentoring, leadership
mm,
skills as well too is a big one because, different personalities require different ways of managing. And as we've seen from
absolutely.
COVID, people's personalities, there's more of a focus on how we work.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think those have been the kind of main three that I would have seen anyway.
Mm, mm. It's interesting that you say that about kind of the personality of the culture fit. Really, we're seeing more and more that kind of emphasis on who are you within the team space and
Yes.
how do you operate with the various different, whether it's parallel or with senior leadership, and being able to kind of demonstrate those skills are really important. Which I guess is very much merged with the next question that came to mind, which is, I guess, as a recruiter, when you sit down, and you're looking at the various different profiles, because no doubt you receive a pretty broad stroke of profiles, but what makes a CV stand out for you in terms of, is it the kind of companies the person has worked for in the background? Are you really looking at projects? I guess, what is the two or three really standout features on a candidate CV that will make you want to lift up the phone and give that person a call?
Yeah, so I really like to see and everyone's different, but I really like
Yeah.
to see company descriptions. So I might not necessarily know all of the medical device companies in the world or all of the manufacturing or automotive companies. So I love seeing people who kind of describe what the company does, what are the ISO standards that they work towards, how many people work for the company so that I can get a better idea of that.
Mm-hmm.
I love to see the role broken down, their responsibilities broken down into bullet points, so that
Mhm.
there's a description to what they do. Sometimes I see CVs with just one word like project management or
Yeah.
daily running of tasks, and I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
And I also love to see achievements. So
Yeah.
what I find hiring managers like is the real data. So the facts and figures, percentages, cost reductions,
Yeah.
I improved something by 50% or whatever
Yeah.
the case may be. I think that goes a long, long way when it comes to making your profile stand out, because
Mm.
a lot of companies, they open up a job, and sometimes I hate saying it, but it can be a little bit of a black hole. So many
Yeah.
people apply. So you do want to make yourself stand out a little bit more from the crowd.
Yeah. That's really interesting because a large portion of what we do really is accompanying candidates through that process. It's sitting down with them to really deep dive into their experience in terms of, what they've done, what kind of projects they've worked on, what skills they've executed, what have been outcomes, results, or achievements, and then demonstrating that in a way. Because as you know, between the ATS and then also the speed of the recruitment
Yeah.
process, we really want to get across much interesting information in as short a space of time, or in it, the most condensed way that we can.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting that you said there about a brief description of the company, because it's true, particularly I guess for international candidates, that you may not have heard of this company before, and it just gives you a little bit of information about, yeah, where that person's coming from, really.
Yeah. And also as well too, we're seeing that video is the way forward as well in recruitment. So
Yeah.
I sometimes say to people, why not include a video link on your CV? And the hiring manager can click on it, the recruiter can click on it, and it's literally less than a minute video of you introducing yourself. Like it's a face to the name. I think
Yeah.
it's really cool. I get to see what your personality is like coming through on camera as well too. And it can just be literally, this is why I'm interested in your role. This is why I think I'd be a great fit. I think that's really cool. I'd do it if I was looking for a job, but I love Sigmar too much, so won't be doing it anytime soon.
They can rest at ease. That's
Yeah.
really interesting, Emma. You're ahead with the times now in terms of having a video. But it's
Yeah.
but doesn't it show as well how inventive we have to be as well? Because I
Hmm.
mean, you know, the market is competitive, and I mean there are
Yeah.
definitely big personalities out there in the market. So whatever we can do to really put our foot ahead, that's a really interesting one. And then,
Yeah.
so when it comes into the CV versus the LinkedIn, Emma, would
Mm.
you find the LinkedIn is a more engaging space for you, or the CV, or where do you really feel you make the match with the candidate?
That's a good question. I'd say probably LinkedIn, purely
Mm,
because I feel that people are way more active on it than they've ever been.
very true.
I also think as well too, going back to what I was saying, putting a face to the name,
Yeah.
a lot of people have their profile pictures.
Mm,
You can also see what they're commenting on. So what are their
mm,
interests? What are their passions? How do they conduct themselves online too is a big thing.
yeah.
So yeah, I think I'd actually prefer LinkedIn, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Um, I think maybe that's possibly the new CV, isn't it? Really?
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah. We
Yeah.
can't stress the importance enough about having that kind of online presence. And just to echo what you said there a moment ago about watching how candidates interface on LinkedIn, we always stress to our candidates, we can't stress it enough. Remember, guys,
Mm.
LinkedIn is not Instagram, it is not Facebook. Think
Yeah.
about your interactions, think about the groups that you join, the sort of comments that you leave under videos. Or it's very tempting to sometimes get pulled into political conversations, but it is not the space to do so when recruiters are watching. So
Mhm.
we want to put, our most professional foot forward with LinkedIn. So just,
Yeah.
I guess, the opportunity to drill that home where we can. And then I guess, then, not that we want to talk about challenges, but let's be realistic, we have to. What do you find from a recruitment perspective are the biggest challenges that the industry is facing right now, I guess, as an overall?
Yeah, I think that we're still experiencing a bit of a skill shortage at the
Mm,
moment. And I feel like we've kind of been saying that for the last couple of years.
yeah,
It's not just engineering, we're also seeing it in the hospitality sector, the nursing and healthcare industry as well too.
yeah,
But from an engineering perspective, if you look at medical device manufacturing, there's such a big demand for these devices to be produced at such a high rate. And then
Mm,
when you have lots of investment coming in, you've got investment in technology and new projects and new product development, you need people to do that. So it means that you're going to require a lot more headcount. You need people to fill them positions. But at the moment in Ireland, people are being paid well. They're happy in their job. They're
yeah.
working on some really exciting projects. They're getting really good exposure. So they're not moving, which makes it a little bit difficult for us as recruiters. So
Mm,
um, it means that we're looking kind of further and further afield. And then I think the other one then too, which I know everyone in the world is facing at the moment, is, the rising cost of everything, the inflation.
yeah.
Everything's a little bit more expensive. We see that in our rental accommodation, the price of food, all of that kind of stuff. So,
Yeah.
yeah, it's not making it easy for us at the moment. It's a bit of a tricky one.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then are you noticing yet? I know we're still relatively in the infancy of this whole new movement, but in terms of AI, do you see that transforming your industry in terms of the kind of roles that you recruit for?
Yeah, how I would implement AI is I would give it a couple of prompts to write me, a good LinkedIn ad or a good
Mm,
job description. Now, sometimes the language on it is just not me, so I will tailor it to sound a little bit more human, I guess.
yeah.
We are using Bullhorn as our recruitment system at the moment. So I know that
Uh-huh.
we're looking at, how we can automate that a lot more. And possibly AI might tie into that in the future. I don't know. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I'd be very interested to see, because I think if you replace a recruiter with AI, you're going to lose that human touch. You're going to lose that
Definitely.
person on the end of the phone. I know even with the acting industry, that they're looking to kind of use AI to pose as actors. Like, it's just not going to be
Yeah.
the same, I don't think.
Definitely not.
And I think sometimes when companies use the ATS side of things,
Yeah.
even that, it doesn't work for some companies. They
100%.
they don't they don't utilize it enough. It's
Yeah.
not beneficial for the candidate. The candidate's not getting that human touch every so often. Oh, sorry, no feedback on your CV yet, or the hiring manager's on
Yeah.
holidays or something like that. So yeah. I what do you think, Shauna? Because I know that
Do you
you're
know,
working a little bit more with companies in that.
so with in terms of AI, the thing that I guess we're seeing the most is we're seeing candidates because what they'll initially do during the first reach out is we'll do an introduction, we'll be your consultant, we'll be pairing with you, obviously based on the skill and the language requirement of the candidate. And then the first thing we'll do is ask them to send across their profile. And more, we're seeing CVs that are purely AI generated, and you can smell them a mile away.
Yeah.
And for me, now I'm not a recruiter, so you might disagree with me on this, but if I was to receive an AI generated CV, for me, the first thing I would think is this person is a bit disingenuous. I don't know
Mm,
who this person is. This is a robot that's produced this CV for me. I'm not getting a sense of who this person is. So when we sit down and we actually start talking to the clients about their projects, about the kind of experience they have, it rolls off them very different to how it does with the AI generated profile. And
yeah.
that's the first thing we'll do is say, look, we need to scrap this because this recruiter, first of all, they're going to know that you did this
Hmm.
through AI. No problem using it as a tool to help you identify keywords or restructure a sentence or something. That's completely okay. But to lean on it completely, as you say, we're removing that kind of human to human um, connection, that ability to really say what we want to say in a way that feels right for us and also in a way that feels comfortable for us. Because if we have a candidate that's produced a CV written by AI and then they go into the interview stage and they have to try and talk about that project, but
Yeah.
it doesn't line
Yeah.
up. And I think that's probably the biggest challenge we're seeing is candidates are thinking it's a quick fix, but it's not then serving them on the longer line.
Yeah.
But certainly in terms of getting familiar with keyword language and helping to prepare for interviews based on questions based on the job spec and things, I think for those kind of exercises it can be certainly a helpful tool. But like anything, it just don't abuse it. Enjoy it as a
Yeah.
support tool, but don't lean on it too heavily. But then I suppose in the larger scale, where it's going in terms of job replacement and so on, I always think of how frustrated people get trying to contact the bank or customer service when they
Yeah,
can't speak to a human being. And for me,
absolutely.
this is
Yeah.
always the big block about AI,
Yeah.
is that we do still want a human being to deal with a human case. So I really hope that that frustration stays with us and that that keeps more people in human-centered roles, because I think we
Yeah.
need that ultimately.
Yeah.
But it was just a curious question to see what your thoughts were from your
Mhm.
industry standpoint. And then speaking, you mentioned there about, you know, hiring managers and people being on holidays and automated responses. And so from the, I guess, the perspective of a recruitment consultant, so you might actually explain to our audience a little bit, Emma, what the difference
Yeah.
is between direct recruitment and then going through agency, just so they're up to speed with that.
Yeah. So I guess going through recruitment consultant is almost kind of like having a guardian angel with you along your recruitment journey. So we know these organizations inside and out. A lot of them would have those ATS systems. So if you
Yeah.
apply for a position through a recruiter, you are going to get feedback, whether that's positive or negative. You are going to be kept in contact throughout the whole process. If you're called for an interview, we do specialized interview preparation with that organization's interview style in mind. We might know the hiring manager really well. 9 times out of 10, we do. So we know how
Mm,
they interview, what kind of questions they ask. So we really help to prepare the candidates as much as possible. So whether that's, you know, various different Teams calls, meetings, face to face, mock interviews, interview tips, that kind of thing, we really help the person to feel as confident as possible going in.
mm,
If you were to apply directly to the company, you could be waiting several weeks for feedback before you hear anything, which is not a bad thing. It just means you don't know that maybe that person has gone on holidays, or maybe somebody else has kind
mm,
of taken over the recruitment of that role. But when it comes then to the offer stage, again, we're there to kind of help guide you, consult with you about things like salary expectations or benefits and that kind of thing as well. Which again, you kind of wouldn't get that little step if you were to kind of go through direct recruitment as well. So I guess we're just that helping hand along the way, and we also offer advice, you know, on different things in the market. If it's a case that unfortunately you don't get that job, you know, we're going to keep you on our system with your permission, of course, to try and help you find a position that's suitable for your experience and something that you love as well too. So it's not just a kind of one and done thing. I mean, there's
mm.
still candidates that I deal with 7 years later that I still have kind of placed into roles. Then they're looking for a new job again. I've placed them into another job. Then they come looking to me again. So it's really good. And you get to know personalities, and you get to know their family, and what, you know, what makes them tick, I guess. So yeah, I really enjoy it.
Yeah, that was always one thing that I thought about working with recruitment consultants, is sometimes you get to have those slightly more comfortable conversations that you might feel a bit intimidated about having with a human resource manager, for example.
Yeah,
So you get to ask the questions,
yeah,
you know, questions that you might ordinarily feel a bit intimidated about.
yeah,
Or if some people aren't entirely sure about salary expectation, you know, the recruiter or the consultants there to help guide those kind of things as well.
yeah.
And so, Emma, kind of, if you don't mind just giving us a quick walkthrough, if I'm a candidate and I've just submitted my CV into Sigmar, what's kind of the life cycle that I should expect to follow?
Yeah, so depending on experience, we will screen you for the position. So we'll ask you some relevant questions related to your experience, things like your current salary, what are your salary expectations, what kind of locations are you open to, and then we get a really good sense of where you want to take your next career step. So
Hmm.
we'll endeavour to help you as much as possible, show you different options. So again, whether that's face to face over a coffee or whether that's over a Teams, depending on where your location is. And then once you're kind of happy to apply for a particular role, we would submit your CV. We will talk through whether we want to kind of make any changes to that CV, if we want to show more detail related to a specific project that you worked on that's relevant for the role. We'll guide you through that process, and then obviously make sure there's no spelling mistakes, because that's another big one as well too. And then we'll submit your CV directly to the company, and we'll follow up weekly as to whether there's feedback or if there's any update or anything like that on your application. And if you're called for an interview, then, as I said before, we kind of go through the motions of the interview preparation. So what kind of style or interview style would that company have? What questions should we prepare you for related to the role? And then we follow through the process. You're called for a second round, Shauna. Congratulations. So this is how we prepare for the next meeting. And then fingers crossed, there's an offer coming your way. So once that stage happens, then we help you along the process with that. As you said, kind of if there's any questions that you're uncomfortable with asking, that you can come to us directly, and we'll help you, guide you along the way as well too.
Fantastic. Amazing. So I saw, Emma, there's a question has popped in for Priscilla. So I just said I'd read it out now. Hi, Emma and Shauna. You're very welcome. Just bear with me one moment. You referred by staff. Okay, so this is a good question. So Priscilla's asking here, if you know of somebody within the company that could act as a referral, should that go through the referral, or can that still go through the recruitment agent with the referral in mind?
That is a good question, and sometimes it's a little bit more complicated. So sometimes
Yeah.
companies will have referral systems in place where
Mm,
the employee who might send your CV in will get a referral bonus if you end up getting the job. So
yeah.
sometimes it means if that's happened, the recruitment agency can't represent you for the role because the company already has your CV on file.
Yeah.
Now, sometimes more smaller companies might not necessarily have a referral scheme, so it's always good to mention that my friend is interested in your company and would like to apply for the role, and the recruitment agency can absolutely send the CV in. Obviously, let their friend know, and
Mm.
then the friend can do all the good talking for them as well too. So it really just depends whether the company has a referral scheme or not. But yeah,
Okay.
that's a very good question. Yeah,
Yeah, it is actually.
yeah.
And there's another one in here as well, then just asking about, okay, so how do recruitment agents work with candidates, international professionals who do not hold a European passport and would require a sponsorship visa? So that's always a bit more challenging.
Yeah. So in that situation, my advice would be direct applications would probably be the best,
Yeah.
in that the companies are in a better position to provide a visa and work permit as part of the job offer. Now, that's not to say that we can't help you. We absolutely can. We can still, like, I still do interview preparation with people that are interviewing for companies that I wouldn't have submitted them for. It's still, the same process. We can still help you with any questions that you have, any guidance that you need. We can still
Mhm.
set up a Teams call to go through interview questions or anything like that. So we're still on hand to help you. It just means that we wouldn't be able to help on the visa and the work permit side of things.
Yeah, yeah. So when it comes to the sponsorship visas, different companies will have different policies in place, whether the role is a critical skills and what the minimum salary is, how long they've been seen to actively try and recruit for the role before they're allowed to reach out to someone that needs an application. So sometimes it's worth as well reaching out or trying to find out who the recruiter is or hiring manager on the role, and reaching out to them personally and trying to build that relationship before diving in
Yeah,
with the visa question, just to see. And because if they really like your profile, and if it is a more niche position that's been particularly challenging to recruit for, there may be more room to maneuver with that conversation. So
yeah.
it's always worth doing the homework there. So guys, I'm just going to put out the final feelers there. If anyone has any questions that they would like to ask Emma. But Emma, it's been so lovely speaking to you this evening. And I guess if I could be bold and ask one more question just before
Yes.
we finish up our live, and it is just to get your advice as a recruiter. What would be your one piece of advice or your solid tip to any aspiring professionals who are really looking to step into the industry at the moment?
Yeah, I would say organization is key. And well, organization and research is key. So look at the companies that you'd love to work for, research what are they advertising at the moment, are your skills applicable to those roles? And then I would say once you've made a list of companies you want to apply for, the roles are there, you know that you'd be a great candidate for, make a list of your applications and how you applied to them.
Yes.
So whether that was through LinkedIn, whether it was through job boards like Irish Jobs or jobs.ie or something like that, organization is key, because there's so much out there, there's so much noise. It's easy to kind of lose track of where you're kind of sending your CV to. And sometimes, which is the case, I've gotten a CV from the same candidate 3 or 4 times because they're
Yeah.
just apply everywhere. So we want to avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah.
And also what I would say too is follow up. So if you apply for a role and you don't hear anything back within a week, 2 weeks, try and find who that person is who's advertising the role, whether it's HR, hiring manager, recruiter, and follow up. Contact them. I've applied for the role. I'm really interested. Haven't heard anything back from you. I also sometimes say to people to go to the companies in person. I know it's quite cheeky, but again,
I love
it's a
it.
bit of a black hole. It's like the video. You want to stand out from the crowd,
Yeah.
and there's nothing
Yeah.
better than that face-to-face contact. So I think that's another good tip that I'll give you. And yeah, I think for me, the organization is key for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny there that you said about receiving the CV from the client maybe for the third time, or also, if you've picked up a client or a candidate and you're saying, look, we've got your application, and that they're completely vacant. They have no recollection of
Yeah.
submitting in the application, and it's
Who are
because
you?
you've been,
Yeah.
yeah, oh yes, I remember
Yeah.
submitting that, and it's
Yeah.
because you've been one of 100 companies that they might have applied for. So I think that's really, really good, is to make each. I mean, of course, recruiters know that they're not the only one, but you want to make them feel that
Yeah.
they're the star of your list. So certainly to have that information to
Yeah.
hand. And if you've got a recruiter's name, remember it, to use it in
Yeah.
the future as well, to keep the personal link.
Yeah.
Um, but thank you so much, Emma. It was really, really insightful. Thank you so much for your time. And
No
indeed,
problem.
for everyone who tuned in this evening's live, as I said, it will be available for you on YouTube, Facebook, LinkedIn to go back and watch at any point. But thanks so much, Emma. It's been really, really helpful and lovely to speak to you this evening.
No problem, Shauna. Thanks a million, and thanks to everyone who watched. Really enjoyed it.
So good to have you, Emma. Have a great evening. Have a
You
great
too.
evening, everybody. Take
Bye.
care.